From what I can see, Cain and Abel are just personifications of something much bigger. They are simply two different genetic experiments. The Abel experiment was that of the enhanced Homo neanderthalensis, the spiritual human. This was the prototype Enki and Nin used. Both when they created the asexual workers and later, the sexual beings, who were meant to become Homo sapiens, the experiment which was supposed to run well into the future, although it didn't turn out that way in the end. The upgraded version of the neanderthalensis were quite smart. Actually too smart for the Syrian Council. The vegans, who had been here while Enki was gone after the ecosystem on Earth was re-established, did some genetic engineering here, because it was allowed then, and hence created both the neanderthalensis and Homo erectus. This is why we can find these two species, walking the Earth at the same time. They both had vegan genes in them. Other founders, Cadisto from Orion, were also here for a while and continued enhancing the Neanderthals, but both projects were abandoned when Enki's team came back. Then after Enki took what was already there and used the neanderthalensis, because he found the erectus being too stupid, it eventually ended with that the Syrian Council took Enlil's complaint seriously and ordered Enki to discontinue the neanderthalensis bloodline, the Abel line, and instead concentrate on Homo erectus. Reluctantly, Enki did what the council had decided, but he enhanced its cranium cavity to make it as intelligent as possible. And still added Namliu genes together with his own, and that of Ninhursag's Syrian DNA. Then, of course, there was still vegan DNA in the body since much earlier, and in addition to that, genes from other star races they used when creating the original Homo erectus. The Homo erectus line would equal the Cain line, which eventually became Homo sapiens, the version which is us, today. However, up until about 28,000 years ago, both the Abel and Cain line existed side by side, although Enki was not upgrading the Abel line anymore. This is of course the simple version, and a more complex version can be read in Anton Park's The Chronicles of the Gurku. Enki had saved his sexual creation, but it had been a close call. He had managed to justify their existence before the Syrian Council and King Anu himself, but they had to be handled under restriction. Enlil, furious, had thrown the sexual humans out of the garden, but still used them for labor. They were just not welcomed in the garden to rest after work unless they kept to Lord Enlil's very strict laws and regulations, which all boiled down to that they had to follow any order they got, even if it led to their own demise. The alternative was a certain death in the wilderness. Out of fear, many early humans accepted Enlil's offer. The rest went with Enki. However, there was a point in time when Enlil realized that it would be beneficial if his creation knew some basic survival skills as well. So Enki and his brother made an agreement that it was okay to teach all humans how to make fire, cook their own food, plant their own gardens, and mate for life instead of just creating babies to be used for slave labor as soon as they were strong enough. Still, the parents were on duty from early morning until late at night and were only allowed to see their offspring when they woke up and before they went to bed in the evening. During the day, the babies and children were taken care of, being put in a nursery, where they were well fed to grow up to become strong workers. Once it was time to put them to work, they were fed much less. At night, the parents often came back, bloody from their bodies having tasted Enlil's infamous whips, and totally exhausted. This was the life of the human slave worker. At least Enlil's workforce got a break on occasion when they were taught basic skills, something they always looked forward to.